Good afternoon, Shawn here with Accelerators Organization. Make sure you are checking the mobile application and clicking that red dot so we know you are getting the messages. Here we are for today's mentor session. Let's get this thing started. If anything today evokes you or provokes you to ask a question, just jump into the portal, ask a question. Doesn't take more than 2 minutes. We are here as mentors to answer your questions. The more questions you ask, the more value you're going to get out of AO and the more connections we're going to be able to make and the more resources we're going to be able to get to you. Let's start this thing off. The first question comes from David. And David says, I am having difficulties tracking my KPIs. I Googled a few, but not having any success. Any suggestions where I can get started? The background is I'm a mortgage broker and I make sales calls to realtors, CPAs, attorneys, etc. Need help keeping track how many calls I need to make to lock in an appointment, building a sales metric. Okay, David, the first thing I'd want to do is I'd want to figure out what my sales stages are. And sales stages could be, first meeting, follow-up presentation, answering objections, sending out contract, awaiting decision, awaiting contract. I want to figure out what my sales stages are in my business. Now, in your situation, you might be developing centers of influence, people that constantly just want to think about you when they need someone to prepare their mortgage, right? So here are some things I would recommend tracking, and I'm going to get a couple other mentors to answer this for you, especially Tom Black, who is a sales coach. I would want to have how many applications we opened this week, how many we closed this week, how many new contacts I was able to create, how many phone calls I made each day to my existing network. Let me think about this, see if I can think of any more off the top of my head. What is my revenue per week this week? What's my revenue month to date? And I would maybe want to have, if I have enough data, what was my revenue last year? What is my revenue this year? And maybe what was the percentage increase? You still have revenue that comes in, and that is certainly something we want to track on a weekly or monthly basis, depending on how often you want to report. When you do your Flex Fridays, I think it would be great. I just sent out a message about this. That'd be great for people to start including their KPIs and the things that they're tracking to determine how far they're getting. And that can be a monthly to date revenue, a year over year, a year to date revenue. Try to think about anything else that I would put in there. How many applications you're working right now? How many applications did not close? They were closed lost, meaning maybe the person couldn't get approved. How many were closed won? How many got approved and what have you? So those are some things to think about. Anything that you would use to measure the success that you're having in your business and something that would allow you to start tracking it on an ongoing basis. What I would do is I would put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And Dan Abate is really good at creating these Excel spreadsheets. I would put it in an Excel spreadsheet so that I could track it and input my numbers each week. And then every week when I do my Flex Friday, similar to what Jennifer Bouchard does, I would take a screenshot and then just post it in the Facebook group when I'm doing my weekly update. That's what I would do. And I'm going to be encouraging a lot more people to do that. So those are some things that I would think about. Maybe Tom will have some additional ones as well. Okay, next question comes from Kyle. And Kyle says, hiring our first employees, should we hire salary or hourly? The background is I have a small athletic training facility, working at previous gyms and hiring trainers at previous gyms. I've come to find it is tough to keep people who are good at what they do around long enough to build a team when they are getting a few hours here and there at the beginning. Would supplementing their pay with front desk, cleaning, etc. be the way to keep them? Kyle, I've obviously have worked out at a personal training facility. I've belonged to different facilities over the years. And what I would do is maybe I would go on a whiteboard and I would chart out all of the different areas in which a team member would be working in my business. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be an individual person for every single thing, but let's take who's going to receive the phone calls when people are inquiring about membership or information. So who's going to take the phone calls? Who's going to check people in? Who's going to enroll people? Who is going to train them? Who is going to clean up? Who is going to order equipment? Who's going to replace or fix equipment? Who's going to open the store or the location? Who's going to close the location? So all those types of things. And then I would start to try to figure out what are the skill sets that are required in each of those different areas of my business, and which ones can be filled by one person alone, or can one person do fulfill multiple responsibilities? So that'd be something you might want to take a look at. You also got your finances, who's going to handle the bookkeeping, those types of things. The next thing I would look at is your question about salary versus hourly. Now, I am not an expert at knowing the laws of what we can ask hourly people to do versus salary. I know that there are some human resource laws around how many hours they can work. There's some benefits and pros and cons to people that are salary versus hourly. I'm going to make sure that Marcia, who is our resident human resources person, that she answered this as to why you would want someone to be salary versus hourly. And I'll make sure that she answers this for you, and you'll get an email around this. But I do agree that there are a lot of people that are just working little side gigs and side hustles. And if we can offer them opportunity or a job that would get them enough income that they could sink their teeth into working full-time for us, that's a better situation for them and for us. Certainly, one of the things that I would take into consideration if I owned a gym is what is the max capacity of members that I could have at my facility. You know, there's Planet Fitness and those types of facilities. They might be able to say, hey, we can have 5,000 members, but of course, not everybody's going to come at the same time. So if your group or your personal training, that allows you to think about the different time slots and how many people could fill up each time slot. Because what I want to kind of know, Kyle, is I want to know what is the maximum revenue opportunity via membership or clients that I could have in any given day, week, or month. And I want to consistently be looking about how I can fill it up and get the maximum. Knowing that there's going to be sometimes people are going to come and sometimes they're not. So I don't know if you sell personal training sessions where people buy 10 at a time or 20 at a time. If you're working certain hours, it would really depend on how you are running your facility. And the more we get to know each other, the more we'll be able to talk about that. We can have these deeper dive conversations on the weekly Zooms. Dan Abate, who is kind of our operations and business model expert, he does a monthly Zoom. Tom Black, our sales coach, he would be a good person. I'm more about, I do a branding one each month, but Dan and Tom would certainly be good to go a little deeper dive. I would want to start figuring out what is the largest capacity I have, which would be the goal is to max out. And then once I'm maxed out, I would then want to see what I could do to take myself out of the equation so that I don't have to be at the gym doing the work and training, so that maybe I could focus on an additional location in a different area, or maybe in the same area, depending on where you're at. Because I want to always be thinking about expansion, because that's just the way that I think. So, and it also depends on what you think. Where are you trying to get to? Would you like to have 2, 3, 4, 5 locations? Then it's all about branding, infrastructure, operations, the type of team that's needed, what type of revenues, what type of net profit is it for the location. So those are all the kinds of things that I'm going to take into consideration as I think about this. But as far as the legality of whether you've hired somebody on an hourly rate or a salary rate, Marcia's going to be better to give you some fine tuning of whether you should hire somebody salary or hourly. Okay? Hope that helps. Okay, the next question comes from Robin, and Robin says, when starting out, how much commission is the norm when hiring a commission-based salesperson? Thanks so much. Background is Art for Calm, getting my artwork out there. So Robin is an artist and maybe she's wanting to pay a salesperson commission. You know, Robin, it would really depend on the business model that you create. You know, I've talked about this before. If you're going to offer somebody to become a salesperson in your company, you've got to have a good idea of how much monthly income in commission that they could make and what is the opportunity. How do they find leads? How do they price everything? Traditionally speaking, you know, 50% could be a good commission amount. And it also depends on the type of products. For painting, you know, I would probably look to go to a gallery and ask them, what is the ongoing commission rate if you were to have my art or a print or an original in your gallery? What is the standard commission? And I might call around to 10 or 20 different galleries to get maybe an average of what people take as far as a commission for the gallery for selling your art. I've never heard of somebody being a salesperson for an artist going out there and making calls trying to sell for them. I've never heard of that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it doesn't exist. But I certainly would inquire with other artists and find out if that's a possibility. Hope that helps. Okay, the next question comes from Eric, and Eric says, what are great ideas to recognize team members for their work and also incentivize them to go above and beyond for the business when needed? The background is we are rat exclusion service in the business of giving people their homes back from the invasion of rats. Our field techs do the work, clock in and clock out. We've given gift cards, certificates of acknowledgement, and even plane tickets. None of these seem to be appreciated or motivating enough for them to do great work or go above and beyond for our clients in business when needed. So I'm working with you on this, Eric, and one of the things that we want to do is realize that a lot of people just want to do the bare minimum, and that's fine. You know, what we want to do is we want to train people on what our bare minimum is. And so, for instance, let's just take, and you've talked about this in a previous post that you did, let's just take McDonald's. I don't care if I own a franchise McDonald's and I want to hire somebody and their particular shift is going to be responsible for making French fries. I'm not worried about them going above and beyond. Of course, I want them to be cordial and friendly and nice to their fellow coworkers. Bare minimum. At a bare minimum, you have to be nice. You don't have to be overly nice or the best personality in the world, but you got to be nice and professional. And you're going to take the fries out and put them in and cook them for this long and take them out and sprinkle this much salt on it. And this is the way it works. I'm going to give somebody the bare minimum, what they have to do to keep their job. And so one of the things that you could do is as you train your new team members is, and we're working on this with you, is establish processes that guarantee that they are going to at least meet the bare minimum to make clients happy, do a good job with what they're getting hired to do, what your clients are hiring you to do, that the company is fulfilling their obligation to the satisfaction of the customer, and your teammate, your team member is actually performing their job. So let's just say, for instance, you say, okay, part of your training is when you arrive to a new client that we have signed up, here's what you're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is with your phone, you're going to take pictures of the before, what you're doing. This is what it looks like before. And you're going to have those on your phone. Then you're going to do your work, and every single day, you're going to do a log of what you did at that particular job site. You may take some videos to document it. You also might type in a log of what you did. And then when you're let's just assume it's a one-day job. You finish the job. You're going to take pictures of the job well done. You're going to then knock on the door of the client. You're going to say this script: Mr. Smith, my name is John. I am your field technician at Rad Exclusion Services. I wanted to let you know that I have completed the job, and I'd like to show you what I've done. I've taken some before pictures and some after pictures. Now, in your position, Eric, you might not be able to take clients under the house or wherever to show them, but you could at least walk them through a presentation of here's what it looked like before we started, here is what I did, and here's how it finished up. Is there anything else that I can do? Our service comes with a 1-year guarantee, a 1-month guarantee. You train them on all this type of stuff. If everything looks good to you and everything's good, just need you to sign here that I've shown you the before and after pictures and so forth. And maybe on this survey, I might want to rate them. How do you rate our services today? I might have something, and maybe they're carrying around iPads. Who knows? That might be a cool idea. But that way, there's a process that they're following each and every step. And if they do that, then I'm happy. I don't necessarily need someone who's going to be like me that's bouncing off the walls. Hey, this is awesome. You're such a great person, and being overly nice. Just somebody who's professional, follows the processes that I set in the company, shows up on time, gets the job done, documents everything. That's what I'm looking for. Now, how do I want to reward somebody like that? Well, the reward is I'm going to let you keep your job. That's the bare minimum that I'm going to give for you. But if I'm going to incentivize people to do more in order to get more, then as their manager, their leader, then I need to start putting in things that I can incentivize them. And if they do those things, then they get rewarded. I don't want to reward somebody for simply doing the job that I'm paying them to do. Now, I want to be a good boss, and I want to say, hey, John, great job today. Thanks for following the processes. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow. And I want to do quarterly reviews, and I want to say, hey, John, I am going to review your position every quarter, and I'm going to rate you in these specific areas. And I want to be very crystal clear of the areas that I'm going to review them on. And then that way, when I review them every quarter, I can then say, these are the areas you did great. These are the areas we can improve upon. I might step back into doing a little bit of training if need be. And then maybe I say, based on your quarterly reviews, we're going to review your compensation for a possible raise, or we might review your compensation for a potential bonus. So those might be some things. I also, once I get to a certain amount of employees, I love doing the Employee of the Month Club. If we have parking spots, I love the employee parking spot for the month. So there's all kinds of things that it sounds like you're already doing. But I think people genuinely just want to like the people that they work for. They want to get along with them. They want to think that their boss is actually a good person, is friendly, is there to support them, that there's job security, and that they just genuinely like their boss. People, you've learned this in the leadership workshops that we've done here in Nashville. People don't quit companies usually. They quit their boss. So usually when people quit, they're quitting because of the person that they directly report to, generally speaking. So my job as a manager and as a leader is to paint the picture and the vision of where we're going, find people that match the culture, and then I just want to be good friends with people. I want to incentivize them. I want to have fun with them. I want to, maybe go out to dinner with them, maybe go out to lunch with them, maybe, do a morning coffee together. We want to make sure that they have a great time working, for the company. And that's kind of the most important thing, is that they really just enjoy the job and they enjoy the people they work for and the people that they work with. That's the most important thing that I found. Okay, and the next question comes from Sheree, and Sheree says, should my extra money go to saving or debt? The background is, I currently do not have a business and work in corporate America with one second job and go to school. I do currently have debt, and I'm trying to cash flow school as much as I can. I will have to borrow to cover next semester. I'm curious, where should my focus be with extra funds? I do know of the Dave Ramsey baby steps. Should I be following those steps? Okay, a little bit of contradiction in your thing here, so I would need clarity. You say, I'm going to have to borrow money to cover school, even though I'm trying to cash flow school. But what should I do with extra money? Well, why would you need loans if you have extra money? So that's something to think about. You know, I would think that the more we get in debt, we're just prolonging paying that back. So I'd like to see getting out of debt as soon as quick as possible. I know that Dave Ramsey does talk about as fast as possible putting together $1,000 emergency fund and just sticking it away. I firmly believe that. I can't tell you how many times, and I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm a person and I've done some financial advising in the past, and I have a financial advisor. I can't tell you how many times people can't even come up with money when they have a blown out tire or something happens to their car or a dental expense or, you know, just something. So I firmly do believe in Dave Ramsey's baby steps for basic financial planning and $1,000 emergency fund. I think that following Dave Ramsey's plan in your situation would probably be what I would recommend. On the flip side, for somebody else that's watching this, I'm a firm believer in focusing mostly on how do I make more money. You know, you're in a situation where you've got a job and a side hustle and you're going to school. Very, very difficult to focus all your time and attention on making more money when you're split 3 ways, right? So in your situation, from what I understand of Dave Ramsey's baby steps, yes, I would follow the baby steps. Dave Ramsey is much more qualified to guide you in your particular situation. If and when you get to owning a business or sinking more money in your side hustle to make more money, I would say definitely have an emergency fund, but I would also say evaluate whether you would pay off debt with whether or not you can leverage that money to make more money by implementing more sales and marketing for your business to increase cash flow and profit. Balance that you'd want to try to do is balance, how do I leverage the debt to make more money? And so for those people in business, I want to leverage debt to make more money if I know that I can put that money to work and still be able to pay down the debt. Okay, hope that helps. All right, and that's today's mentor session. Is that all there was? Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. All right, hope you guys have got some good knowledge from this. Go into the portal, ask some more questions. Make sure you're checking the mobile application. Try to send out something almost every day that can be informative, whether it's an announcement, an article, a thought, a mindset shift, or something. All right, click the red dots. Click the red dots in the mobile app. All right, talk to you soon. Peace out. Come on.